What's up, guys? Bible in a Year, episode 47. Again, we're doubling up today. Got 6 chapters that we need to go through in Numbers, and I will tell you this, Numbers 20 to 25, those 6 chapters are 6 of the richest chapters in all of Scripture. Come with us on this journey today. All right, here we go. Numbers 22-25. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Lots to cover.
Holy smokes. I don't know how we're going to do this in 15
We'll get it.
minutes.
We'll get it.
So let me just kind of give you guys a rundown as I look down here at my notes. Number 20, you got 3 huge points. Water from the rock, which ends up keeping Moses and Aaron out of the promised land.
Yep.
2, Edom denies Israel passage. A little bit of a secondary thing, but still worth mentioning. 3rd, death of Aaron. Then you get to Numbers 21. You got 2 primary points. Israelites complain again. God sends venomous snakes. They create a snake on this pole. They have to look to it to be healed.
Huge point.
Then, defeat of King Sihon of the Amorites, King Og of Bashan, on their way to Moab, which, honestly, Moab, it's the beginning of the end for Israel.
Yeah.
All right? Numbers 22, Balak, king of Moab, and Balaam and Balaam's donkey. Numbers 23 and 24, Balaam's 7 blessings over Israel. And then finally, and this, guys, is huge. Like, everything I've said so far is important. Numbers 25 and Phinehas, okay? Phinehas and what he did had ripple effects all the way through the Apostle Paul. So, let's go ahead and get started. Go back to Numbers 20, all right? Israelites start complaining again about not having enough water, okay? God says to Moses and Aaron, all right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go down. I want you to speak to the rock. I'll bring water forth. Now, again, if you remember all the way back when we were talking about this, I think it was in Exodus where we talked about it the first time. This was not some miracle, so to speak. But God would say, old shepherd's trick, there's the weak spot. Strike the rock, water will come forth. That was an old shepherd's trick, okay? But this time, it's not striking the rock. There's no fracture, there's no physical contact to bring forth water. This was a miraculous pouring out of water that God desired. And God was basically saying, you speak to the rock, I will personally bring the water out, and you're not going to have anything to do with this other than speaking at the rock. I will use your mouth to speak to that rock to draw water forth. It's not your staff strikes a weak point on the rock and water comes forward. This is you speak my word to the rock and I will miraculously bring the water. Moses and Aaron take credit for it because they're so upset with Israel. They hit the rock twice. Water comes out and God says, what did I say? Did I not tell you this is how it's going? Well, now neither one of you are going to get into the promised land. So it's a mess.
Yeah, it sounds like obedience honors God, right? Obedience honors God, and it's about honoring God in this moment. But as you were saying those things, man, what a beautiful communication of what prayer should be like. You know, I'm speaking to God, and God is moving into action in prayer versus like I have to do something to demonstrate that God can do something. No. Power of life and death is in the tongue. Prayer is communicating to God, and God moves in. And that's what he's saying to them. Hey, just be obedient to me. Speak to the situation and let me fight the battle. Let me show you who I am. It's an honoring of God to say, like, it's what you're saying. They can't. It's another place where the Israelites are saying, we could, not that they're trying to take credit for this, but this is where they could be seen for getting credit for this. And that's not what it's about. God is saying, I want to be seen that I've made this mark. Let it serve as another example of who I am to my people. but you've disobeyed.
Oh my gosh, that's such a huge point. Communication with God releases
Yeah.
living water.
Oh man, that's huge.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
All right, again, guys, lots of information to go through. Edom denies Israel passage. Now, don't forget this. Who are the Edomites? They're the descendants of Esau. So this is family, and they will not let Israel pass through. It ends up becoming a plague on the Edomites forever. Then, this is a passage that always has just knocked my socks off. Aaron, okay, goes up Mount Hor, H-O-R. They strip his priestly garments off of him, and he dies.
Yeah.
You're done here. You're out. It's the holiness of God. I mean, I called you to be a priest. You've done a great job. You failed me in this instance. And because I told you holiness is important, and you shirked my holiness to do it your way, it's my right as God to bring this justice to you.
Yeah.
This is not, you're wrong, you're bad, you're going to hell. That's not what this is. This is, you have to be accountable for your sin. And it's the second those garments are off of him, he has no reason for living anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I made you to be a priest. You are no longer a priest. Your life is over. Now you're with me. And I know that's harsh, but it's also justified.
I've fought the good fight. I've finished the race. I mean, what do you do when you're the forerunner and you no longer have to be the forerunner?
I know. It's
you see what I'm saying?
I
Like, and then
100%
a lot of people say,
see
well,
what you're saying.
man, that, like you're saying, well, that's harsh. Well, like, what is it? What is the need for me to stay on earth when I've fulfilled all that God has called me to fulfill? That's why I was put here in the first place. How can you say that, Pastor? No, like, that's why we're here. To honor and glorify God, to worship God in all that we are. And when I finish the race of the faith by accomplishing all that God has wanted me to, none of my days will be cut short as long as I'm staying in the work of the Lord.
So I met with a financial planner today because I'm 54 years old. You know,
Yeah.
I'm at that point in my life now. Just want to make sure that everything's where it needs to be. And he's a great Christian man. And he said to me, I'm assuming you'll never retire. And I said, well, you're right.
Right.
You can't retire from your own identity. And I've said
That's
that in
right.
church many
Yeah.
times. This is God saying, if you're not going to be the person that I called you to be,
Yeah.
it's better for you to be with me. And that's what's happened here. And I mean, we can
Yeah.
talk about that.
No,
forever.
right. Yeah.
All right, Numbers 21. So the Israelites start complaining again. Venomous snakes are sent into the camp.
Yep.
People are being bit. They're dying. They're crying out, please help us, help us. Moses goes to God. God says, all right, create this bronze snake, put it on a pole. If the people look to it, then they'll be healed.
Yep.
Okay? And that's exactly what happened.
It's totally foreshadowing. It's totally a foreshadowing. I mean, like, those that look upon the serpent that hangs from this pole and believe will be healed.
I'm turning to the Gospel of John.
It's
even
the
as
gospel.
You're saying it.
It's the gospel.
So, you want to see the connection? It's John 3:14. All right? John 3:14. Here's what it says. Jesus talking. Just as Moses lifted up the snake in the wilderness, so the Son of Man must be lifted up. Why? That everyone who believes may have eternal life
That's
in him.
right.
So, like you just said, Numbers 21 is a foreshadowing of what is coming in Jesus, and he's going to be lifted up, just like that serpent on that pole was lifted up. They receive salvation when they look to him, the physical salvation.
Yeah.
It's a spiritual salvation that occurs when he's lifted up. There's an interesting passage, though, with this, if you guys want to turn to, I have all written down in my notes, 2 Kings 18, okay? 2 Kings 18, verse 4. So you read about this. After this incident with the bronze serpent on the pole, Israel kept it around, turned it into an idol. It's crazy. And we were talking about this in the last lesson, just how they get it wrong. 2 Kings 18, verse 4, talking about King Hezekiah. King Hezekiah removed the high places smashed the sacred stones, and cut down the Asherah poles. He broke into pieces the bronze snake Moses had made. For up to that time, the Israelites had been burning incense to it. It was called Nehushtan. They turned it into an idol. What are we doing here? And they just, it was constantly part of who they were as people, When you look also, defeat of King of Sion, the Amorites, I switched my own notes there. King Og of Bashan. Really, the serpent on the pole is a picture of the direction that they were heading.
Yeah.
When I say the picture, the serpent on the pole, they ended up worshiping the serpent on the pole rather than the God who was saving them through it.
Right.
And as they're heading towards Moab, they get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. As they get closer to Moab, they defeat these two kings. King Balak of Moab calls for Balaam the prophet and says, hey, come curse these guys. And Balaam says, I can't do anything against God. It's not like he's a godly man, but he says, I can't do anything against God, but he goes anyways. And on the way, that's where he rides the donkey. And there's it's probably Jesus that's standing in the road. It says the angel of the Lord. And he's ready to strike Balaam down with this sword. And Balaam starts beating the donkey. And the donkey finally turns back and starts talking to him. And I love that passage.
It's a great story.
Because it says, it's hold on. Why am I in Deuteronomy? Why do I have that? Well, anyways, we're running out of time. It's Balaam saying to the donkey, "You've made a fool out of me."
Yeah.
You're talking to a donkey, man.
Yeah.
Who's the fool?
Yeah.
It's funny. But anyways, so you're a holiness guy. I'm a holiness guy. I feel like we're flying through this, but we only have like 3 minutes left. All right, guys, do me a favor. Meet me Numbers 25, okay? Pastor Daniel and I turn to Numbers 25. You're a holiness guy. I'm a holiness guy. Let me just read these first few verses. Numbers 25. While Israel was staying in Shittim, the men began to indulge in sexual immorality with Moabite women, who invited them to the sacrifices to their gods. The people ate the sacrificial meal and bowed down before these gods. So Israel yoked themselves to the Baal of Peor, and the Lord's anger burned against them. This isn't complaining. This is worshiping other gods.
Right.
This isn't saying, hey, God, come on, help us out. This is just a complete shunning of God.
Denial, refusing,
and a worship of another God.
Yep.
They haven't even crossed the river yet.
Yeah.
Okay? And the Lord's anger burned against them. Verse 4, the Lord said to Moses, take all the leaders of these people, kill them, and expose them in broad daylight before the Lord, so that the Lord's fierce anger may turn from Israel. So Moses said to Israel's judges, each of you must put to death those of your people who have yoked themselves to the Baal of Peor. Then an Israelite man brought into the camp a Midianite woman, and Midian and Moab are almost synonymous. They're interchangeable. Right before the eyes of Moses and the whole assembly of Israel, while they were weeping at the entrance of the tent of meeting. When Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, so this is Aaron's grandson, when Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw this, he left the assembly, took a spear in his hand, and followed the Israelite into the tent. He drove the spear into both of them, right through the Israelite man and into the woman's stomach. Then the plague against the Israelite was stopped, but those who died in the plague numbered 24,000. So, just so you guys know, Phinehas, the spirit of Phinehas is invoked from this time on all the way up through the Apostle Paul.
Yeah.
When Antiochus Epiphanes comes into Israel right at the end of the BC time period, okay, around 400 BC, when he comes in, the Maccabean revolution was in the spirit of Phinehas. When the Apostle Paul, who at that time was Saul, and I'm reducing it because he was kind of always known as Saul and Paul, but when Saul was killing Christians, he was doing it in the spirit of Phinehas.
Yeah.
He thought he was coming against people who were taking away from the holiness of God.
Yeah.
So, you're a holiness guy. How do we not go too far with holiness?
Yeah, so there's a couple things, and this will be my final comments on this episode, is to say this. We must understand, you can look at this messed up situation and all these horrible things that are happening and say, man, these people got it wrong and these people are a mess. Well, like, let's not miss the reality here of all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, right? So there's a lot to say about people are fickle and people fall away, and there is a great falling away that's happening. Let's remember that.
Yep.
You know, we're like these people.
Yep.
You know, but this is what I want to say about this. There is so many monumental encounters with God through these chapters that we've just talked about. Like, God is present there, and he's showing up and giving signs and being evident in all of these situations. As you said, it was probably Jesus himself that was standing there in the road. People are having these monumental encounters, but their responses aren't really responses unto the Lord.
True.
They're reactions as a result of other things that they're choosing to engage in. And so this would be in the middle of all this mess that's going on and the rapid fire that you're hearing from Numbers today, what I would say to you, there is a need for daily encounter. There's a need for daily encounter, and not just to pick this book up and read it, not just to fold your hands and bow your head and pray, but to encounter the Lord. Like, I want to encounter you so that my focus remains on you. Not because, you see how easily people begin led astray. How is it that God is providing water in one moment, and then the next moment we're worshiping idols? You know, it always is funny to me when when Aaron says, I'll pop this calf. What do you, no, like, somebody fashioned that. Yeah, you fashioned that, you know? And that's what I'm saying. If life is that subtle that in one moment we can be like, oh, isn't God amazing? And then the next, like, look, isn't this amazing? Like, there's a need for daily encounter. Not with the things of the world, but with the Lord, so that I can commune with him, and it keeps me in the balance. You and I talk about this a lot, and I've learned a lot from you on this. Is like, there's a need for rhythm, there's a need for a flow, there's a need for balance. Well, what helps me strike the balance? Daily time with the Lord, you know, and what happens is a lot of times, and I see a lot of people kind of, and I've fell a prey to this myself as well. When you go into extended fast, or you go into extended times where you're really studying the scriptures in depth, or spending hours and hours in prayer, that you can almost be tempted to make yourself subject to self-righteousness, to the high brow of looking down upon people, and that's not the heart of Christ. That's the spirit that you're talking about, right? That are like, no, like, you people are wrong. No. Jesus looked at people and said, Father, forgive them. They know not what they're doing. You know, like, that's where we have to say, God, give me a heart for your people. Let my heart be broken for what breaks your heart. And so there's a need for daily encounter, not some religious act, but communion with God, so that there's balance in the holiness of your life, not just in conduct, but in the character of your heart.
Am I yoking myself to God?
Right.
Or am I yoking myself to the Baal of Peor?
There you go.
And that's really what it's not about, did I do it right? It's, who are you yoked to?
Yeah.
You know, if I'm yoked to God, you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
But you're yoked to God.
That's right.
If you're yoked to the Baal of Peor, you can even do good deeds.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of the yoking, not the deeds.
Yeah.
You know, the deeds, everybody, that's what you said at the beginning. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. That's on both sides. But which God are you yoked to?
Yeah.
If you're yoked to God, you know.
Cinch up the straps, man.
That's
I
it,
think
man.
Sometimes we come under it and we don't put any straps on it because I might want to throw it off. What are you talking about?
But to say, I don't want to be yoked to God. I want to be yoked to this God. All right. That's your choice.
Yeah, that's right.
Do what you want to do, but
That's
I'm
right.
telling you what, that is not.
That's not going to go
all
well.
right, we're 20 minutes. We keep talking. Guys, God bless you. Rich chapters. Read all 6. Spend some time with God. Take it all in. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.